Hello, beautiful beings, and welcome to the podcast episode of today. So in today's episode, we are going to be starting our mini-series on self-love. So this is 5 days in a row. I'm going to aim to make these episodes around the 15-minute mark, but don't sue me if it goes over because we all know how much I love to talk. Sorry, I nearly just choked on myself because I've got reflux because I'm heavily pregnant. Anyway, we all know how much I love to talk, so the chances of this going higher than the 15-minute mark is significantly high. Anyway, I've done a whole bunch of self-love episodes in the past. We've spoken about confidence, self-love in general, self-respect, how to actually implement self-love, what self-love actually is, how to improve on it, what it is, what it isn't, everything. So this mini-series is going to compile a lot of the things that I've shared and more over the last 5 years of the podcast in a way that's kind of bite-sized, in a way that hopefully it gets embedded better into your mind because we're doing it every day for 5 days. I would love for you to also be writing things down that resonate with you. When you write it down, you're more likely to remember it. You read it out, repetition. It's the best, okay? So let's dive straight in. I'm not going to give a life update. I'm not going to give any of that. We're not doing a brain fact. We're diving straight in because, like I said, I'm giving myself 15 minutes. Okay, let's begin. We're doing self-love. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about in this episode is self-love has nothing to do with being up yourself, okay? It is quiet confidence. That's how I want you to think about real self-love. A quiet confidence within yourself. It doesn't feel loud. It does not feel competitive with yourself, and it doesn't feel competitive with other people. It's fine to have like healthy competition with yourself, but that's not what we're talking about when it comes to self-love. It's not forced. It's kind of this steady relationship with yourself, okay? Being up yourself, quote unquote, is kind of an insecurity in disguise, okay? The next thing that I want you to think about is that your relationship with yourself, what we're working on over the next 5 days, sets the tone for everything else in your life. It sets the tone for every other relationship in your life. It sets the tone for your relationship with your career, with your abilities, with, your mental health, with absolutely everything. If you can really focus on honing in on your relationship with yourself, it will influence and determine the outcome of almost everything else in your life, okay? It's kind of like your relationship with your brain and your mind and your mental health, and it all ties into this one thing, and that's your relationship with yourself. So how you talk to yourself, how you treat yourself, what you do with yourself when, the chips are down. How do you pick yourself back up again? Do you pick yourself back up again? Do you think you can rely on yourself? Do you think that you can have your back if things go wrong? Do you only ever seek external validation versus validating yourself? Do you ever trust your own gut without trying to get 10 other people to agree with you before you feel confident in doing that thing? All these things reflect how you then experience everything else in your life. One major thing that we do when we really struggle with self-love is that we outsource our self-worth constantly, right? We look for anything other than ourselves to prove that we're good enough. Not that we're amazing, because when you have low levels of self-love, we don't often really feel that way anyway, but that we're good enough, okay? So here we are outsourcing our self-worth to, does this person think I'm good enough? Is this person complimenting me? Is this person agreeing with what I'm saying? You almost feel like you can't go and say something or do something until you get this kind of approval. And it's not like you're out there constantly seeking approval from people, but it's this silent approval that you're looking for. It's kind of you're always looking for clues that people will validate your existing beliefs or how you feel or what you're about to do. You will, let's say you want to move somewhere. Let's say you want to do something with your life. Let's say you want to change careers. None of this seems possible unless you have like an army of people or a select number of people that kind of agree with you. And when you do that, you are outsourcing your self-worth. You're basically saying people's opinions of my body, of my choices, of my aesthetic, of my career, of anything is more important than mine. The moment you say that, your self-love, your relationship with yourself suffers. There is nothing wrong with seeking people's opinion. There's nothing wrong with asking people if they agree or disagree, especially if they're a mentor, especially if they've gone through what you've gone through, especially if you really respect where they're at and how they view a situation. But when you look at that from everything, and when you think, I can't make a new move or do something differently until I get that approval, you're literally saying to yourself, I'm outsourcing my self-worth. I can't do this for myself. Another thing that I want you to really think about is do a bit of an inventory. And this is an exercise that I want you to do today if you can. But what are the main things? Not everything, because we're not here to put ourselves down. And I don't want this exercise to be like, wow, I'm really mean to myself. But what are kind of the key things where you notice negative self-talk crop up? Is it with body image? Is it with your abilities? You might not be confident with your abilities within your career. Like, where is it that you notice this negative self-talk crop up? And you're going to realize, just mention the first few, okay? You're going to realize that so many of these things have been borrowed. You either borrow it from hearing other people talk about it all the time. Maybe you were told these things within your career or within like how you grew up. Maybe your parents always spoke this way and you're just reflecting that language. But a lot of negative self-talk is borrowed. So when you do this kind of inventory on just the key things, don't make it this fucking negative spiral that you're going to go down. But just think, yeah, wow, I'm actually quite harsh on myself every time I look in the mirror. And then I remember that, that's just a reflection of what I grew up observing, or it's a reflection of how all my friends talk about their own bodies, or maybe the content that I'm personally served on social media. It is often borrowed. So you're going to think, thank you very much. No, thank you. Return to sender. Okay. If you find yourself, the next point, if you find yourself in comparison, you're going to realize that comparison creates isolation, okay? When we compare ourselves all the time in order to gauge where we are at, you are creating isolation. You separate yourself, whether it's upwards comparison or whether it's downwards comparison. And I'm going to be talking about that kind of comparison a lot more over the next 5 days. But upwards comparison is where you put yourself down because you're comparing yourself to people that you deem to be quote unquote better than you, hotter than you, more successful than you, luckier than you, more privileged than you, all the different more that you can think of. That's upwards comparison. That doesn't feel good because you're saying they're better than me. I'm not good enough. They're better than me. If you do downwards comparison, that's you saying, well, at least I'm not XYZ. At least I'm not this person. At least I'm not that person. At least, it feels good in the moment because you think, oh yeah, true, God, I'm not that bad. I'm not that unattractive. I'm not that unsuccessful. I'm not that much of a failure. But what that then brings up is complacency. You think, I just need to find comparisons that put other people down so I can feel some level of satisfaction in my life. None of downward comparison. Firstly, we don't really know what's going on in other people's lives. I don't think it's helpful to compare yourself to other people. Secondly, it creates a sense of complacency because it forces you to or it doesn't force you, but it puts you in a state where you're just looking at, well, at least I'm not this, so now I can relax. So there's you're not being proactive. You're not actually doing anything to make yourself feel better about your current situation. And then you have this false sense of reality when you do downward comparison, because everything you look at things more from like a reactive lens instead of a proactive, happier lens, okay? So when you do that kind of comparison, upwards or downwards, you ultimately end up isolating yourself. Instead of thinking, everyone is where they're at, wherever they're at. I can learn from people. It's fine to do downward comparison in the sense of like, wow, seeing how that outcome happened for that person has really taught me this about how I could approach things differently. So it's not so much I'm better than this person because of this. You could be like, I can learn lessons from what that person went through. I can, X, Y, Z. But the more you notice yourself lean into these kinds of comparisons, for good or for bad, you are going to isolate yourself and you're going to feel less connected. And the less connected we feel with other people, the less connected we feel with ourselves and with our mental health and with our levels of happiness, okay? Now, true self-worth, the next point, true self-worth cannot be taken away, okay? If you can build value within your character, within yourself and your actions, that can't be taken away. So I often talk about when it comes to self-love, when it comes to self-respect, when it comes to achieving things in your life that make you feel good about who you are as a person, you want to aim for things that cannot be taken away, okay? It's not something that you can buy, borrow, or steal. It's something that you have earned. And self-worth, your relationship with yourself, is something that you earn through doing the psychological exercises, through treating yourself better, through starting to speak to yourself better, different habits, different behaviors, and then your relationship starts to change. And you earned that. It's not something that one comment can dissolve because you've earned it. It can't be taken away. Someone can't take away something that you've earned, okay? So for me, when I talk about how can I start to feel better about myself, I look at my day-to-day structure and I think, what is it right now that I'm doing where I feel like I'm earning something? So for example, when I was studying, it felt really good because I'm like, this can never be taken away. Once I get this qualification, whether I use it or not, it can never be taken away. I've earned that. Like, that's something that I can say I did that. If you ran a marathon. So I'm talking about external things as an example. But if you did all these things, it feels good because you're like, this can never be taken away from me. So then look at it from like a self-love perspective. How can I do things where I feel like I've earned something that can never be stripped away from me? Is it in how I treat myself in the mornings, my morning routine, the 10 minutes I get where I wake up before the rest of the household alone, just with myself? That's earned. No one can take that shit away from me. And the more you can implement earned things that you do for yourself throughout the day, I can guarantee you, the better your relationship with yourself is going to be. It's just going to get better and better and better and better. You'll be thriving. The next point that I want to touch on is that your brain can be rewired, okay? I don't want you to fall into this habit of being like, it's like epigenetics. I've just inherited this mindset from my parents or from, whoever in my family. Everyone is kind of like this. My whole friendship group is like this. If I started talking positively about myself, everyone would think this way. We get ourselves stuck, and we then will look at biases, confirmations, left, right, and center to prove why it is that we shouldn't change or we can't change or why it's going to be so difficult for us to change. Change is inevitable. Things are going to change in your life constantly. So you might as well roll with it and contribute to those changes. You might as well be in control of those changes. So I want you to look at your brain as something that's constantly being wired and rewired and wired and rewired. A lot of the time it's not in our control, or we don't realize it's happening. And it's unintentional rewiring. So neuroplasticity can happen for the good or for the bad. But then there's self-directed neuroplasticity. And that is where you are directing change, where you are rewriting these thoughts, where you are looking at what's borrowed negative self-talk, or what are habits that aren't really working for me, or what's something that I can earn to start making myself feel better about my relationship with me. Okay? That will start to rewire your brain. It doesn't matter who you were born to. It doesn't matter who you hang out with. As long as you start to become aware of what these triggers are, things will begin to change for you. What used to be subconscious becomes conscious. What used to be the norm becomes something that piques your attention, being like, wait a minute, that's actually not normal. That is actually not fucking normal. I don't need to behave like this. I don't need to talk to myself in that way. I don't need to do this shit, okay? And then lastly, and this is one of my favorite things that I love to do, is to draw a line in the sand. I love line in the sand moments in my life. There's big lines in the sand, like when I moved countries, when I had a child, when I got a divorce. Like, there's massive lines in the sand in your life where you're like, wow, my life changed from that moment. But you can also do smaller lines in the sand that are really significant to you. So when you want to start this self-love journey, whenever you're ready, ideally it's now, because why not? I want you to draw a line in the sand, and I want you to say to yourself, everything that's happened before now is before this line, and everything that's going to happen after will be after this line. This is the line in the sand, and it's a no judgment zone. It's just the new version of me that's going to emerge. You almost want to be appreciative of the old version of you, because if you then start saying, oh, the fucking idiot old me who used to fucking say this shit, and now I've got to undo it, and fuck you, and now you've made my life more difficult, then fuck the line in the sand, because that's not going to work. You want to look at it as, thank you for everything that I've learned. Thank you for all these lessons. Thank you for putting up with all the bullshit that I put you through. It's over now. We are changing it. This is a line in the sand. And from today, I am never going to allow myself to just spiral or get away with talking horribly to myself. There'll be moments where I slip up and I talk like shit to myself. There'll be moments where I have a really bad day and I don't want to get out and I don't feel like I look good unless someone tells me I look good. And that's fine because you're on that journey, but that won't go unchecked. When it happens next time, I'm going to be like, I'm aware of this. I'm aware this is happening and this is just reminiscent of my old self and I'm learning a different way. Okay. So over the next few days, we're going to go into exact tips and tricks and tools that you can start implementing into your day. But for today, the main thing that I want you to remember is that agreeing with people who put you down all the time is abandoning yourself. We don't need to abandon ourselves in order to fit in. Okay. So next time you're talking to someone and they say something, it's so simple to just be like, that's really interesting, instead of agreeing with them. That's one of the first things you can do for your self-love. Start standing up for yourself. Start, listening to what you care about and what you want to say. And then your self-respect is going to go up. Remember that confidence is not about being loud. It's about liking who you are. It's about feeling comfortable within yourself. So that can only occur when you start saying, it's okay for me to do this without seeking external approval. It's okay for me to wear this outfit without sending it to all my friends and for them to say that it's okay. The more little tiny things that you can do without seeking external approval, the easier it's going to be to do the bigger things, okay? So for example, this is such a minor thing, but I am not telling anyone the names of my children. And it's because I love the names that I've selected. And I love them so much that I don't want anyone's energy, bad juju, bullshit to interfere with what I choose to call my children. And I'm like, I know many people aren't going to, everyone's got their own opinions. Everyone's going to have whatever they think about the names, but talk about it behind my back like a normal person. If I say a name to your face before the kids are born, then people are going to be like, oh, I don't know about that name. Oh, are you serious? Really? Do you actually like that name? Versus when I just been like, here's the fucking name, cunt, after they're born, and then I don't have to listen to your shit because you're going to feel less comfortable dragging the name through the dirt when this person already exists. So that's just a small example of what you could be doing for yourself as well, okay? Stop seeking approval for every single decision. If you're happy with it, if you don't actually need advice on how to get, sometimes you actually need advice from an expert or from a mentor. If you don't need those things, if it's outfit related, if it's all these things, just do it. You're going to start to increase your confidence. And then when you have confidence for the little things, you're going to be able to get confidence for the much bigger things in your life. Okay. Most of the stuff that you say to yourself, most of the crap that you say to yourself, you've heard it before from someone else. Okay. It's not original. And you can say that to just remind yourself, this is not original. This is a regurgitation. I don't need this anymore. Okay. Thank you very much. You've come with me this far. We say goodbye now. Guys, thank you so much for listening to today's first episode of the Self-Love series. Tune in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for the rest and write down the things that really kind of resonated with you. Love you guys so much. As always, remember, be kind to yourself, be kind to your brain. Don't take shit from anyone, especially don't take shit from yourself. Don't care.